The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Market Fantasy. The brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5. Give $5 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently Monday afternoon, December 22nd, around 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm Rosso Scott Reichel once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the final matches in Chengdu and in Hangzhou. We have two title matches to break down taking place Tuesday morning. We'll break down both those in a second. Before we get into any of the actual preview of those two matches, a reminder that you can also support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube. And a reminder, you can also check out the podcast audio only on Spotify and Apple. When you do so, don't forget to leave a rating and a review. So a couple ways to get to the show, either on YouTube. We also simulcast it on Twitter. And also, if you want the audio version only, check out Spotify or Apple, SGPN Tennis Gambling Podcast. Leave a rating and a review when you do so. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great merch for tennis. We have shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, different colors, very affordable and comfortable. So check out the different merch that we have for the show. Plus, a reminder, if you want some free picks and podcasts from SGPN in one easy location, instead of having to constantly search on YouTube for each individual show's channel, check out the SGPN app. Free to download on the App Store to get all of the free picks and podcasts in one easy location. Anyway, starting off with the recap of what happened in the semis. Unfortunately, I did not choose wisely for the lock and dog. I would say the reads for the matches in particular were not that bad. I just picked the wrong place for the lock and dog. So for the lock, picked up a loss. We had Nakashima team total over 12.5 games at minus 145. Caesars went rogue for a team total price, which was too good to pass up on, and we needed him to win at least one set. He was minus 460 to win a set, and he did not. So picked up a loss there, as Tabilo did beat him in straight sets. For the dog, I was really torn between the over 2.5 sets and the Royer money line, and I chose poorly, as I thought Royer would win in 3. He did not, as he won in straight sets. He dominated, but either way, the over 2.5 sets did go up in flames. So once again, not exactly great picks by me. For the recap, though, of the semis, the match predictions were not that bad. The Tabilo one was not right. We thought Nakashima might end up winning, but we thought it'd go 3 sets, and Tabilo was just too good, simply put. I know Nakashima is not a great returner. Tabilo, though, was playing out of his mind, and Nakashima really just couldn't do anything against him. I believe Tabilo faced 0 breakpoints in the entire match. We got the tie break that we expected. Problem was Tabilo ended up dominating, and he won 7-0. So Nakashima never stood a chance. But either way, nice job by Tabilo. The real regret was not taking something in that Musetti match, because we thought that he was going to destroy Shevchenko, and we just didn't take it. It was minus 160 or 170, 4 straight sets. We mentioned the Shevchenko team total under 9, which I probably should have taken in hindsight. But either way, he ended up winning 6-3, 6-1. Never in doubt. Shevchenko just didn't have enough, I'd say, weapons to challenge Musetti, and Musetti's been rolling lately. So either way, nice easy win there for Musetti. For Hangzhou, we thought that Royer would beat Mutet. We got that one right at plus 130. Of course, picked the wrong play. Picked the over 2.5 sets instead for the dog. But we thought Royer was in good form. Thought Mutet was a bit, I'd say, vulnerable after getting a pretty lucky draw with the Echeverry injury down a set. But Royer got the job done handily. And we saw Bublik once again dominate against Wu, which we thought about as well. I mentioned Bublik straight sets was plus 105. Probably should have been my dog play, but either way, Bublik won comfortably. He won 6-3, 6-3. So after seeing a bunch of drama for the previous few rounds, a bunch of 3-setters, a bunch of tie breaks, etc., a very boring morning of tennis in Chengdu and in Hangzhou, because every match, all 4 of them in the semis, ended in straight sets, and only one match had sets with 10 or more games, because Tabilo and Nakashima ended up 6-4, 7-6. Every other set that was played ended up having 9 games or less. So very, very lopsided either way for the matches. And if you stayed up to watch them and you picked the right side, there was no sweat at all for you. It was very straightforward. But either way, maybe we'll get some more drama in the finals. We'll see what happens. But either way, definitely not exactly as, I'd say, drama-filled as we were hoping for the matchups there in the semis. See people stopping by. I see somebody who I actually don't recognize from Romania. How's it going? What's up? But either way, he's asking if I'm going to be posting about Tokyo, etc. So just to be clear, by the way, if you are new to the show, I do post every round for the Masters 1000 events and for the actual Grand Slams. For the other events, I tend to do the preview and outrights. I do quarters, I do semis, and I do finals. So I do usually 4 episodes per tournament, but with the 1000s and with the Grand Slams, I do every round. So it's a little bit different there, but welcome to the show. Either way, though, checking out the comment section, I see Uneducated stopping by again, and I see AO stopping by. So nice to see you. Uneducated mentioning the challengers I should say qualifying in China. Yeah, for the upcoming schedule, I know that you have Tokyo and Beijing coming up. Tokyo does start tomorrow night. So the schedule is going to be a bit weird because I was waiting for some Beijing lines to drop, and I haven't seen any. So we might have to do outright episodes that are individual for Tokyo and for China. We're going to see what happens, but unless they post Beijing outright odds somewhat, I'd say soon, then we might have to go rogue and do a Tokyo episode only, and then a China episode or a Beijing episode only too. So either way, point is we're going to see what happens moving forward. It really comes down to when they post the outright lines, and then if they do that in time, we'll group both of them together, do one episode for the outrights. If not, we'll break them into 2, and we'll do it whenever they actually post the lines. See, we have a guy from New Orleans as well, so welcome to the show. Hopefully you enjoy the content. But either way, a time to get into the finals. But before I actually get into that, just quickly looking at anything else I want to talk about. Laver Cup action ended. You saw Team World actually win. Good for them. Real story, though, seemed to be the complete no-show by Zverev, who got destroyed by de Minaur and Fritz. Rumors he was injured, and he played anyway. You saw Alcaraz lose to Fritz as well the day prior. Alcaraz beat Cerundolo. Saw de Minaur, who was basically Team World MVP. De Minaur was fantastic for the entire event. Bit shocking that Team World ended up winning, but Zverev was awful throughout the entire event, which led to some, I'd say, concerns about his health. Look, at the end of the day, it's a team competition. If you are not fit enough to participate, then you shouldn't be on the court. Like, I'm not going to show Zverev any real sympathy here. He knows how healthy he actually was. The coaching staff, I'm sure, could have pulled the plug on Zverev and picked somebody else if they wanted to. They chose to use Zverev. He lost again in straight sets to de Minaur and Fritz over the weekend. He was a disaster, simply put. And I thought he was the least valuable player for Team Europe in the entire event. But either way, Team World ended up winning. Does it matter? No. It's a nice job when you win, despite not having Shelton and Paul, who had to drop out with injuries. You threw in Opelka in there. I know Fonseca won a match. He was the last-second fill-in too. But looking at the actual rosters, it was a bit surprising that Team World ended up winning. Shout out to Agassi, who I thought did a pretty good job coaching the team, and I thought that he was definitely a guy who seemed to bring the right amount of positivity and optimism to the team, which helped them win. It doesn't really matter. It's an exhibition. I think the Laver Cup is stupid, but either way, if you paid attention to it, nice job by Team World getting the job done. And with no Shelton, no Tiafoe, no Paul, they won anyway. So nice job by Team World, but Zverev was god-awful. And I wanted to mention that because he was just a complete liability for almost the entire tournament. And for a must-win match, once again, Team Europe was up against it. They needed to win out in order to actually win the entire event. And they threw injured Zverev out there against Fritz, who, first of all, owns him. Fritz has owned the head-to-head for the last couple of years. And second of all, he was not 100%. So I question the decision. I think it was Yannick Noah who made that choice as the coach. But either way, I thought throwing Zverev out there was an extremely reckless decision, which did not pay off. And we saw Zverev lose to Fritz. So there you go. But nice job by Team World. Shout out to them. And if you cared about the Laver Cup, hopefully you had a good time. If not, you probably forgot it was happening. But Team World ended up winning. And we, as a group, got to laugh at Zverev again, which is always fun. Anyway, that's going to do it for the recap of the last day or so. Before we get into the preview of the finals in Chengdu and Hangzhou, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is MyBook.ag, using to bet on different sports, especially football, both pro and college. They have a prop builder, second to none. Their motto is very simple, bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. You can use crypto, for deposit and payouts when you sign up for a new account. Use code SGPN for 100% bet back bonus $500 for new customers. But we'll get the G promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig, which is America's #1 sports futures market. Since Novig's an exchange, you're getting the best price available in the market. Also, Novig's available in 35 states, so make sure your state actually has it available for you. Or if you're in international waters, that's fine. Make sure to check if Novig is available over by you in your country. Also, download the Novig app. Get $50 when you spend just $5. Use promo code SGPN. Get on the actual Novig. Promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finish recapping what happened in the semis. Time to move on into the title matches in Chengdu and in Hangzhou. So, like always, Chengdu is happening first for the actual time that they're taking place. Chengdu is going to be happening at around 7 a.m. Eastern. Hangzhou is around 7:30 a.m., so a half-hour start there for Chengdu, which has been consistent in each round. Now, for the actual matchup in this one, you have Musetti taking on Tabilo. Bit of unfinished business for Musetti, who lost to Shang in the final last year. Now, once again, he's against a lefty, and we'll see if he can get the job done. Now, Shang, we know, was in great form. He had some crowd advantage. Not so much this time around, because, of course, Tabilo is Chilean, so the crowd should be relatively neutral. But either way, we'll see if Musetti can get the job done after losing in the final here last year. Now, for the pricing, you have Musetti being a massive favorite, about minus 300. Basically the same price for both matches that we're going to end up seeing on Tuesday. But Musetti's around minus 300. Tabilo's around plus 230. For the over-under, I see 22.5 games. For the spread, I see minus 3.5 for Musetti, plus 3.5 for Tabilo. For the set spread, I see Musetti in straight sets at around minus 107, and I see Tabilo to win a set is around minus 124. So a bit of juice there on Tabilo to win a set. Not much, though. So should be a fun matchup. If you want to go for some other actual options, no tiebreak is minus 137. Tiebreak is plus 106. Team total, I see 12.5 for Musetti. The over is about minus 160. Under is plus 123. And for the Tabilo team total, I see 11.5. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 115. Faced off one time in the past. I'm going to point out it was on clay, and it was a long time ago, as they faced off in around 2021 in Turkey, and Musetti killed him. He won 6-2, 6-0. Doesn't matter. Not even a little bit. It was on clay, which you know is Musetti's best surface as the former bronze medal winner in the Olympics, and also the current semifinalist in the French Open. And we know that Musetti, of course, has been very good over the last few years. Same thing with Tabilo. Musetti's been better, but using a clay match that was about 4 or 5 years ago doesn't hold much weight. So I'll toss it in the garbage, but both guys have looked very good so far in the event. Now, Musetti was also good in the U.S. Open, as he made a very good run. He won 4 matches, only dropping 1 set. Then he lost to Sinner. Thought he played better than the actual final scoreline indicated, but Sinner's also a madman, so not really his fault. Then he showed up here, won 3 sets against Prismic. From that 3rd set onward against Prismic for the rest of the event, he has been on the warpath. So not only has Musetti not dropped a set, he's won 5 straight sets, but he has lost less than 4 games in each of those 5 sets. He has been rolling. It has been 6-3 or even a greater margin in each of those 5 sets. He's been amazing, and Tabilo has his work cut out for him. Now, he's also been good. Now, for both matchups, we have one very big favorite against a qualifier, and Tabilo was a qualifier. So after getting injured in his last match in it was in Guangzhou, where he ended up getting eliminated by Cerundolo. He showed up here, went through qualifying, beat Lloyd Harris in a 3-set marathon. All 3 were breakers, 1-2-1 in the sets. Then he showed up for the actual main draw, beat Thompson, beat Darderi, beat O'Connell, and beat Nakashima. His best match was against Nakashima, so he was able to raise his level, and we'll see if he can serve that well again. If he does, it's going to be an absolute war. If not, I think he has some work cut out for him. But the point is, Tabilo has been great. Winter qualifying, he's been very good. Now, for Musetti, I said before, he's played significantly less tennis than Tabilo, had not played since the U.S. Open, and he's won 5 straight sets. Now, his path's been a bit weak. Shevchenko in the semi is a very favorable draw for him. He was a massive favorite, minus 500 or so. Basilashvili is a solid player. I think we would agree, though, not nearly as good as... Well, then again, O'Connell, I think, is a little bit, I'd say, more active than Basilashvili. But you could argue Basilashvili is the better player as a former top 20, top 30 guy years ago. And Prismic is entertaining. He's still very young, So we'll see what he develops into. But the point is, it's a pretty interesting matchup because Tabilo served very well against Nakashima. If he serves that well, he can maybe neutralize the Musetti return game. However, we know Tabilo loves to rally, so does Musetti, and I give Musetti the edge in the actual rally department, which is why I think he's a worthy favorite for this matchup. Now, I do think you could argue it's a bit expensive at around minus 300. Maybe if you think it should be a smaller price, I would have Musetti at like minus 250, maybe minus 220, 230. I'd still have him as a decent favorite, but 300 does feel a little bit large when Tabilo's been healthy and he's been in great form. The issue for Tabilo wasn't his actual skill. It was always the durability. And the fact is we backed into an aggressive a couple years ago. Think it was Mallorca, and he ended up winning. He beat Djokovic on clay earlier this year. He has some good wins. But the fact is, Musetti, I think, looking at the eye test, has been the better player. Tabilo, yes, he served well against Nakashima. We've also roasted Nakashima constantly for being an abysmal returner. And the fact is, Musetti is a very good one. He will force Tabilo into a bunch of long rallies, and I think Musetti will get the better end of a lot of those rallies. So for me, I'm going to pick Musetti in this one. I think even though Tabilo is a player that I personally like, I think he's underrated on tour. Having said that, Musetti has been a top 10 player in the world all season, not even just on clay. He's been good on hard court, made a good run in the US Open. And the fact is, I do think there's a tier gap between these players. Tabilo, I think, is somewhere in the 20s to 30s, and Musetti, I think, is easily top 10 right now. The fact is, he was known as being a one-trick pony as a clay specialist. Then he made a random Wimbledon deep run last year. Might have been fluky, but still. Point is, he might be okay on grass. Hard court, though, I questioned him. And he's been pretty good so far this year on hard court. So Musetti, I think, is in a good spot to get some, I'd say, the revenge isn't the right word. I would say to get some closure. After losing in the final here last year, he's back in the same exact spot as he was, and now he can finish the job. I think he does. I think he gets some closure. I think he gets some vengeance, and I think he gets the job done in this one. The real question isn't if Musetti's going to win or not. The question is if Tabilo actually wins a set in this one, because it's priced basically like it's going to go 3. And I might be inclined to agree with that. It comes down to if I think Tabilo can unload and shorten the points. Because the longer the point goes, I think the bigger the edge Musetti has with his defensive resources, the defensive lobs. He also has, of course, the firepower on both wings to get the job done. Musetti's also not that great against lefties. I looked it up. I believe he's 1-3 straight up in his last 4 matchups against lefties. So not the best results against a lefty, which Tabilo is, which maybe opens the door for Tabilo to keep this interesting. I think it'll be close. I'm not picking an absolute rout. I think Tabilo makes Musetti work for it. But I think Musetti wins. If I had to go for a prediction, I'll go 3 in this one. Give me Musetti winning a 3-setter, so I don't mind the over, but I think Musetti gets the job done for this one. Moving on to the final in Hangzhou, you have Bublik taking on Royer. Now, Bublik entered the event with some injury concerns, which is why I skipped him for the event. I would have easily taken him. The problem was he got injured against the likes of Kwon in Davis Cup action, and I questioned if he would actually play in this event. And boy, has he played. So he beat Vukic. He ended up beating Lucky Loser in the third round, and he ended up beating Wu in straight sets. The real story, though, has been the serve for Bublik, because he has not been broken a single time in the entire event. And furthermore, he has only faced 1 break point in the first 3 matches combined. Bublik has been a top 10 player in the world for the last couple of months. I did the research earlier, and Bublik has won 14 of his last 15 ATP matches. He is 14-1. The only loss was against Sinner, which is understandable in the US Open. But he has been absolutely incredible. And the fact is, I think you're looking at a spot where Bublik has been just on the warpath for months. Now, for the pricing, pretty similar to the Musetti pricing, a bit more expensive. Bublik's around minus 380. I see Roy around plus 280. I see the over-under at 22.5. for the set spread, I see Bublik in straight sets at around minus 110. I see Royer to win a set also around minus 110 for the game spread, minus 3.5 for Bublik. You have plus 3.5 for Royer. And if you want to go for the over 2.5 sets, I see plus 160. Now, once again, Bublik has been dominant, ended up beating Boo handily. If you want to go for some other angles, you might consider the spread if you think he absolutely buries him. But the real concern I have is, first of all, I'd say the uncertainty regarding Royer, because he's never been in an ATP title match before, so nerves can play a factor. Then again, I believe he was never in a semi, and he killed Moutet. So I mentioned before, Bublik has been coasting. Royer went to qualifying like Tabilo did. Beat Chen, beat Spaziri, beat Kovacevic, beat Rublev, beat Tien, and beat Moutet. So for the main draw, not an easy path for Royer. And round of applause, he got the job done to actually reach this point. Having said that, Bublik is a different animal, and I think Royer's got his work cut out for him again. I'll put it this way. If you're asking who I think is more likely to pull off the upset as a 2-1, I'd say north of a 2-1 dog, I would pick Tabilo over Royer. It's really tough to pick against Bublik at this point, which sounds insane if you listen to this like 8 months ago, because Bublik was our original bet against him first set. He'll no-show early, then he'll show up late. Bublik, though, has found a certain mental clarity and a certain, I'd say, realization that he's really, really good at tennis. And if he just applies himself, he can beat anybody. And he even beat Sinner on grass a couple months ago. So I think Bublik is just too good right now. And the fact is, not getting broken a single time and only facing one break point in the entire tournament. Do I think Royer can either match his serving display or can he force multiple breaks? And I'm skeptical of that proposition. I think Bublik wins. I think Royer's made a great run. I recognize he's beaten some very good players along the way. But Bublik is, in my opinion, a firm top 10 player in the world right now based on form, winning 14 of his last 15 ATP matches. I think he's in a great spot to win in straight sets. Royer maybe can surprise. He has the firepower and pretty decent net skills. But I do think Bublik will force some break points. We know Bublik has pretty good court coverage, and the fact is Bublik does stand very far back on the court in the return game, which can maybe neutralize the aces for Royer. But I do think Bublik's serve has been the biggest weapon in the entire event so far. And unless Royer finds an answer to that serve, I just question how many breaks he'll get in this match. If he only breaks one time, let's give him a break. He does more than the previous three opponents for Bublik combined. Let's say he gets one break. Do I think Bublik will break more than one time in the event, in this matchup? I do. So with that being the case, Royer has to break probably multiple times or win a tie break to pull off the upset here. I don't see it. I think Bublik keeps it rolling. He's won multiple titles over the last 2 months. I think he'll win another one on a Tuesday. Give me Bublik in straight sets of minus 110. I recognize Royer has been a very solid player for the event. And once again, I'm going to keep an eye on him moving forward. I think he's going to be a future top 50 guy. I believe he's officially number 75 in the world. He moved up about 30 spots already in the past few days. But Bublik is just so good right now. I really can't go against him. So give me Bublik to get the job done in straight sets here. Maybe one breaker in there. But I just don't see him getting on the scoreboard, him being Royer. I think Bublik wins 2-0. It's going to wrap it up for the preview of the two matchups on Tuesday. Time to move on into the Lock and Dog picks. Before we get into the Lock and Dog, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Unranked Fantasy. Using to play Fantasy Pick'em, you can win 500 times your entry, play high or lower on your favorite player stats. Available in multiple sports, including tennis. If you want to go for aces, if you want to go for double faults, if you want to go for breaks of serve. They also have total games and other options there. So check out the actual once again, options they have for tennis on Underdog. But when you sign up for a new account, use the brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, $50 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. If you want to check out some great models for college football and the NFL, you can check out Rhythm because they have a leaderboard with weekly cash prizes for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets on models that you build of any type, and you can't win 1K. The bets do not have to win. Just build a model, track 5 plays, and you're entered into the giveaway to win 1K. And a reminder, if you also want to check out Rhythm, you can get a nice discount code with us. use the promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for a quarter off your first month. Download the Rhythm app and use the promo code SGPN25 for a quarter off your first month. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the title matches in Chengdu and in Hangzhou for the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I'm going to go to a moneyline parlay. Not going to get too creative here. I think you have two guys who have been easily the best players in their respective tournaments, being Bublik and Musetti. Give me the money line for both guys. I will parlay the two of them at minus 130. DraftKings kind of went rogue. Most books had this parlay minus 160, minus 150. DraftKings is minus 130. I think it's a very good price. Bublik is 14-1 in his last 15 ATP matches. The one loss being to Sinner. No shame in that. He's been incredible. Royer playing in his first ever ATP final. Do question his actual nerves for this one. And you're looking at Bublik, who has not been broken in the entire tournament. Faced one break point in the entire tournament. The speed of these courts mixed with his game, with his play style and his serve makes him almost unbeatable. And Vukic won a set against him in a tie break. That's basically Royer's only hope, in my opinion. Maybe he gets a break. I'm not sure he holds every service game either. So you might see maybe a breaker. But I think Bublik's a better player by a decent margin. Royer's been good. Maybe he'll keep the fearless play style. But I just think Bublik has a bit too much firepower on these courts to get beaten. Think he'll win. If Royer wins a set, good for him. I don't see him winning two. So give me Bublik money line for this one. For Musetti, based on eye test, I think even though Tabilo has been good, Musetti has been the best player in the field. He's won 5 straight sets by at least 3 games. So once again, 6-3 or less in every single set for the last 5. He's been rolling. He's been very good. Tabilo, I understand, can be dangerous. I recognize how good he is. But Musetti is a top 10 player in the world. He's very, very solid on these courts. The firepower that he has is underrated. I think he has more pace on both wings than Tabilo, and I can see him using it for this one. So I think Musetti, who also lost in the title match here last year, has some extra motivation. Think he'll finish the job. Give me the two chalky favorites parlayed together as my lock, Bublik and Musetti on the money line at minus 130. For the dog, I'm going to go to a similar idea, but I'm going to go with a bit of a different breakdown. I will take Bublik straight sets. However, it was minus 110. I will throw in Musetti to win a set as a parlay piece to get this to plus 114. The truth is, there really weren't many, I'd say, plus money plays that I liked on the card, because both Musetti and Bublik are minus prices to win in straight sets. And I didn't want to gamble on the over 2.5 sets for the Musetti match. So instead, I'll pick Musetti to win a set as a parlay sweetener to get this to plus 114. But Bublik, once again, has been rolling, not been broken in the entire event. Musetti has won at least one set in 18 of his last 19 matches. One exception was against Sinner in the US Open, where I thought he actually played pretty well. But Bublik has been rolling. I think that you're looking at Royer, who's been good too. But Bublik, based on his form, based on his overall intensity recently, just feels like he is too much for anybody to handle on these courts. I like Bublik straight sets anyway, but I can get it at plus money if I throw in Musetti to not get curb stomped by Tabilo. Good enough for me. Give me Bublik straight sets with Musetti to win a set at plus 114. So once again, the lock and dog picks for the finals. The lock's going to be on Bublik money line, parlayed with Musetti money line at minus 130 on DraftKings. For the dog, give me Bublik straight sets with Musetti to win a set, or the Musetti plus 1.5 sets play at plus 114. To wrap it up for the show, once again, we'll be back for Tokyo and for Beijing. Not sure if we're going to do both in one episode or individual episodes, because it depends on when the outrights get posted for Beijing. But either way, a couple of 500 events coming up over the next few days. Should be fun. And until next time, I'm on Twitter, Reichel Radio.